Hello everybody. Today we're talking about Hans Niemann. No, I won't back down. No, won't be turned around. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. Anyway, right on, bro. That's all I can say. You know, I knew you 10 years ago when you were a little 9, 10-year-old kid. And now look at him now. He hasn't changed that much. You know, he was always kind of a little bit of a loner, the rebel at heart, the rebel without a cause. Anyway, Hans still remembers me, and about 6 months ago, he sent me an email. He's never, really been a really social, friendly type of guy. It wasn't like he said, "Hi, Craig, how's it going?" or anything like that. But I, tried to be friendly in the email. I said, "Hi, Hans, what do you want?" He said, "I want to see, do you have any of John Grief's games?" I said, "No, I don't, but my friend Mike Anderson might have a few of John Grief's games." And, Mike was not, a master. He was more like a kibitzing master. But he played Hans a few times. And Hans was a little bit mean to Mike. He would beat Mike. And then that led to Mike nicknaming him Hans Demon after a while. Anyway, Hans right now is leading the U.S. closed, and he's pretty much saying, "Hey, I'm tired of all the BS you guys are throwing at me. F you guys." Right on, bro, right on. Anyway, today's game, we have another Hans Niemann game, this time against Hans is playing black in today's game against former world contender Boris Gelfand, who had white. Now Boris is getting old now, and Hans is an up-and-coming phenom. But let's see what happened here. Okay. So Gelfand is a notorious kind of a queen's pawn specialist, and the main thing, I want to teach you guys is that it's not really about the opening. If you want to become a strong player, look at these openings that Hans plays. They're very normal and solid, and that's it. You generally don't see any kind of, really wild openings from Hans. You just see very solid play, and this is the way I think you want to go, especially if you want to develop a solid repertoire and get a winning repertoire going. You don't need to rely on fancy openings, just very normal, solid stuff. Now we have a Catalan. Okay, check. Now for you beginners, this is not checkmate. You can always block the check. Okay, now he goes back. What's the point of this? Well, black has kind of gained a tempo because the bishop on d2, this is not it's a passive square, and so black or white is probably going to have to move this piece again, and thereby black has gained time. Okay, one of the normal moves for black is also just to capture the pawn, but Hans plays a move that's, not necessarily book, and then as we can see from this, white has a .2 advantage, as you can see up here. So now, castles. Now this is not all that normal. The computer gives us as equal, but I feel that because of the problem that black has with this bishop, bad bishop here, white is somewhat better. And this is a position that I've had before. Now queen c2 has got to be right. So this move that Gelfand played, yeah, he does play queen c2. And now we see that Hans has not done anything special. In fact, he's kind of got a little bit of a passive game. And this bishop is in particular is a problem, this light squared bishop. Now already we have kind of a lemon. I believe this is a lemon. Because, you know, black can take the pawn and try to hang on to the pawn. So I really think that bishop f4 was better here. So now black takes the pawn, why not? Now white has the choice of knight e4, the computer likes this move. Frankly, I cannot understand knight e4. e4, e5, you know, gambiting looks like a possibility. If e4, then b5, and then we have a real gambit developing. I don't know if it's 100% sound, so Gelfand plays a move that's recommended by the computer. Now so far we have white still better, even though he's a pawn down. Okay, now white is still better, as we can see by this. So, you know, there are those like Yosha who claim that Hans is cheating and he's got a computer stuck up his ass or something like that. These are hilarious, you know, kind of allegations in my opinion. Really hilarious, okay? Now the computer says white is still better. Now look at this move. The computer says that black is still in great difficulties. That is correct. And that is correct, and then white is still better. But it really depends on whether you can glom onto this weak d4 pawn or not. That's really the issue. If white can win this pawn, he's got a maybe decisive advantage with these two strong queenside pawns. But let's see what happened here. a4, the computer loves that move. Computer likes that move. Now this all looks pretty much correct, and now the computer says it's dead even at this point. But due to black's excellent centralization of the queen, I have to think that, you know, black is doing quite okay here. Okay, the computer says that's a mistake. Now, I don't think this is a mistake, but it looks to me that e5 is correct here. e5, strengthening his center, seems like the right thing to do here. But Hans plays a little bit dynamically, trying to get the rook in here. Notice that if white tries to take this pawn with the queen, bishop f3 wins a piece. So this pawn is immune from capture right now. Black would love to get the move e5 in, and then he would probably have a better game, because I prefer the central pawns to the queenside pawns here. Let's see what he did. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes I go too fast. e5 was the move that was played, and according to the computer, it's a lemon. And I fully agree with that, because white can simply take the pawn. Now you're thinking, well, bishop takes pawn, what if bishop takes knight, winning a piece? Well, it doesn't quite win a piece, because I take bishop f6. And then this is going to lead to a white advantage. And if you take my bishop, I'm going to take your bishop. And then I feel that white is going to be better. But on bishop takes pawn, the really critical issue is what was Hans going to play. He's not going to take the knight. He's probably going to push, d3. And then white has a choice of either sacking the exchange, which isn't bad. Rook takes pawn leads to pretty good compensation for the exchange sack. And you know, white should be doing fine as long as he, you know, holds on to his extra pawn. But let's look at what Gelfand completely freaked out, and this is pretty common with older players, is, you know, we're often very good in positional type games, but when it comes to the really wild games like this, critical positions, see, that's the total lemon, and now it's over. It's all over because it looks to me that Gelfand just hung his ass completely. You know, see, this queen has nowhere to go now. You can't go here, can't go here, can't go up here because of the bishop. You can only go here. Queen b1 is the move, the only move. And now, I guess I would take here, and then queen c1, and then rook c2. This is cool. Queen b1, and then I would simply start taking everything that's, you know, not nailed down here. So in this hopeless position, down 5.5, that's more than enough for most of us to win. Gelfand decided to resign. Now, this is pretty much a crushing game, but let's also see what the computer has to say at this point. Okay, request a computer analysis. Now this is one of the really cool things about Lichess. It tells you exactly when someone made the decisive error. See, we see that at this point the game is even up to a certain point. After bishop g5, suddenly it's over all of a sudden, you know. So bishop g5 is the blunder, and then after rook c2, it's just hopeless. But we see from the computer's analysis from this thing that it was about an even game. And e5, you know, e5 really isn't that good. e5 really isn't that good. In fact, e5 gives white, the move e5 actually gives white the advantage. You know, this lemon by Hans, it looks good, but it isn't any good. Okay, so what are the things, the important takeaways that we can get from this game? The first thing is that you don't have to play spectacular openings. Look at what Hans, he's 2700, one of the top players in the world. They play solidly in the opening. Hans often plays an early e6, d5, knight f6. Very solid, you know, and, you know, non-risky repertoire. This is always the way I used to play. Take no risks in the opening. Get out of the opening alive and let your strong middle game pretty much have, you know, pretty much say have the say or whatever. Let the chess speak for itself. You know, the famous Hans' famous sayings. Okay, and then the other thing is that this e5 move is a complete bluff. And Gelfand, you know, if he was maybe a little bit younger, a little bit stronger, and had a little more guts, call his bluff. Call his bluff with bishop takes pawn. And so Gelfand in this critical position, this is where he messed up. And the important takeaway we have to do here is that critical positions in chess separate classes. Okay, Gelfand's what, 2650. Hans is now probably around, I would estimate, 2720 strength. Okay, that means he's one of the best in the world. Maybe not in the top 10, but he's in the top 30 players in my in my opinion. And you notice that even the top players like Hans sometimes makes a real lemony move. But anyway, peace out, guys, and so long from the Craig Marr channel.